Beautiful. All right. Hey, Fish, we are live. We're going to be talking a lot about, we got a ton of things to talk about, but we've certainly got to talk about the cream of the crop in the NFL for the Final Four. Wouldn't you agree we do have the best of the Final Four?
We do. And just want to say we had technical difficulties yesterday. If you couldn't catch us, it was something between us and us. So we will rectify that by just giving you, me, and Daly today. We'll get the hard line on in osmosis. Final Four, yes, we got the Final Four right. Sometimes you go to the NCAA tournament and you say, "Wow, there's a 12 seed in there." I think we got the best four teams, and the Bengals and the Chiefs in the AFC, and the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. If I had to pick at the beginning of the at the playoffs, yeah, absolutely, I would definitely say it was them. I got to tell you though, I think the Eagles are showing to be the best team. I mean, they destroyed the Giants, who you and I thought were definitely on the rise. And to me, I look at the Eagles, their personnel is all back. They're healthy. Jalen Hurts seems ready. I'm not going to say this because I still want all the games to be good. I think this could be a runaway. It could be a runaway where the Eagles just destroy the 49ers and destroy whoever's going to be in the Super Bowl against them. So, I mean, they're that strong. And I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning of the season. And I don't think you did either, but certainly about 6 weeks in, I was like, this is a strong team. This is a really well put together team. What are you thinking on the Eagles?
I disagree. I think that they'll probably beat the 49ers. I don't think they run away with it. I think that you have number one defense and this DeMeco Ryans, who's a defensive coordinator of the 49ers, he'll be wearing a head coach's headset next season. He's that good. He's getting that much accolades. So I think he'll figure out a way to stop the running game, which had 268 yards for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Giants. If you do that, then you have a puncher's chance.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you on the 49ers. I actually think, if I had to pick a favorite that I want to push for, it would be them. I love that Kittle's bobble catch in that game on Sunday. Man, to me, that might have been the moment of the playoffs. And I think that catch turned it around because, the Cowboys defense actually played fairly well up to that point. And then once you got into the third and fourth quarter, the 49ers kind of controlled it. And then thanks to Dak's mistakes, the 49ers hung on.
Absolutely. I mean, and boy, there has been some brutal criticisms of Dak Prescott in social media. The Dallas Cowboys even put out on their own Twitter account saying Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions and we lost the game. I was shocked at some of the reaction to this, but it's knee-jerk reaction. The same thing with Buffalo. Is getting a lot of crap from their own fans, and that's what happens. People are passionate about their teams. I'll ask you this. I think the biggest shocker of the weekend for me, John, was the Bengals just destroying the Bills. I basically thought the Bills would win that game. Not only did they destroy the Bills, it's the fact that they had so many injuries, the Bengals, and that takes away that narrative. They had 3 starting offensive linemen out, and they go into Orchard Park, and it really was a game until about halftime, but you just see that Joe Burrow was throwing dimes.
Well, and when you think about it, they went up 14-0. The game technically was over at that point because the Bills they kind of came close. It was 17-7 at the half. But how do you not consider Zach Taylor as coach of the year? I mean, what a great job he's done with them. What a great job he's done with Burrow. You got to consider, when you figure his first year, I think he won 1 game.
I disagree. I think he won it last year, and I think guys like Brian Daboll, who took Daniel Jones in that Giants team, I mean, when you have skill position players for the Bengals like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, the Giants have no one. The Giants have John Daly, the golfer, John Daly, the podcast host, Eric the Fish Snyder, and Hardline. And Hardline's basically a center that's eligible. That's it. And they made. There's an old saying. They made chicken shit into chicken salad. I love Doug Peterson's job they did in Jacksonville. That's a 4-win team coming off a lot of crap with Urban Meyer, and there'll be more stories about that. So there's a lot of guys out there. Nick Sirianni might win it. Philadelphia was 15. John, Philadelphia was 15-1 when Jalen Hurts started and dominated like that. Yes, Does Zach Taylor get consideration? I think someone else will win it.
And that's what I'm saying is that, he has not been in the conversation, and I think he has, and I think you got to look at what he's done. You also got to look at the Bills. The Bills need to, in the offseason, they need to get a good rushing duo. They're putting way too much pressure on Josh Allen. And I look at the Bills over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I realize they didn't have Von Miller, and that defense since early December was not the same. And I mean, there were times Jamar Chase was like wide open. I mean, there was nobody around him. And even in the snow, when Joe was kind of, shot putting balls, he still had plenty of time. So there's something going on there that the Bills are going to have to get moving. Go ahead.
As a fan, you watch all sports. You're the biggest baseball aficionado that I know. And we've talked about this on previous shows, but it happened again in the Giants game and the Bengals game. I'm tired of announcers trying to sell the game when you know what the outcome is going to be. I've seen announcers in baseball. I don't want to put I love John Smoltz, but if it's 8-0 in the 9th inning, turn it off. You have no shot. It's a 1 in 1,000 chance. It's 38-7 with 7 minutes to go in the 4th for the Eagles over the Giants, and they're still trying to sell it. Stop. We're not as stupid as you think we are. Maybe I am.
Taking care of the advertisers. That's all they're doing. They're taking care of the advertisers. Right. Hey, let's get into because Patrick Mahomes and that ankle injury, and I'm reading stuff today that he's going to be ready to go, but you're hearing different stuff.
Well, I'm just going by all the pundits and sources that I have that when you have a high ankle sprain, it's not to the extent that Tony Pollard got the same sprain in the Dallas game. They took him off in the cart, but he's hurting. And I love the rhetoric that comes from Patrick Mahomes. Pain is pain, but he's not going to be 100%. I can guarantee you that. And a lot of his game is outside the pocket and improvisation. So is that gonna hurt the Chiefs? Yes. I also think Cincinnati's got that chip on their shoulder. They were in the Super Bowl last year and a few plays away from winning it. So I think Cincinnati's a hot team coming in. And if Mahomes isn't 100%, it's the reason why I'm picking Philly and the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you as well on that, and we'll get into those picks later. All right, folks, welcome to Daly Fish, coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. I'm John Daly. He is Eric Fish Schneider. We also have the Hard Line with John Hardison from the Cost of Winning podcast and all of his sports betting advice. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us today because of the technical difficulties we had. Folks, if you got questions or comments, drop them in the chat box, or if you're not watching us live, email us at dailyfish1, the number 1, dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, Fish, a couple other things. Let's go a little, whoa, Nelly, take us back to some super teams. Talk about this. This is actually kind of cool and kind of an idea for today. Go for it.
Absolutely, and I'll throw it forward to you on a question thing. The reason why Hardline's not with us today is because in our pregame and yesterday, he said to us that the Dallas Cowboys are a better team than the San Francisco 49ers. I think along with all the Dallas fans that are sitting on toilets right now with diarrhea, he's one of them. Super teams was something that John and I watched in the 70s. It was a reality show basically, and it happened when football season ended. In that time between baseball pitchers and catchers report, you took the best team in the NFL, Super Bowl winner, and the Major League Baseball winner, and they did all kinds of events like tug of war, John. They did obstacle course, they did cliff diving, they did things that they'd never allow nowadays because of contracts. Let me show you a clip of I believe it's the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Royals from 1978.
Now past 20 minutes, which is by some measure the better part of 3.5 minutes, a new record for the tug of war. Now the time wears on. The crowd's enthusiasm maintained a level pace as the Dallas Cowboys remained aggressive, trying to grab back the advantage from Kansas City. Couldn't gain much as the Royals held and held and held at 33
minutes. Love it.
That's classic stuff. And
let me jump in, and then I'm going to ask you a question. You could give your take on it because I don't want to run you, but I just top of my head. Keith Jackson did that. Whoa, Nelly is a reference to Keith Jackson, one of the greatest college football play-by-play announcers of all time, Hall of Famer. And Howard Cosell was on those contests with his, look at Randy White in the tug of war. Hold that Danish, and all that crap. Freddie Patek, 5'4" shortstop for the Kansas City Royals. John and I are very familiar with him, and those of us that are our age know that. He was great shortstop at the Kansas City Royals. He actually was the anchorman in that tug of war. And you go back and watch that on YouTube, one of our outlets. It's great.
Wow. Yeah, hard to believe. So do you think they should bring that back rather than do the flag football?
Absolutely. I'll segue into I'm pissed as hell they're trying to sell this Pro Bowl, which is the flag football, dunk tanks, who could throw the football 50 yards into a trash can. You can't sell that. You cannot sell that to me. You can't sell it to an audience that has a cerebrum, a cerebellum, and a medulla oblongata, brainstem. I want to ask you this, John. If you can go back and pick two teams in your archive of all the sports you watch that would participate in this nowadays, who would it be?
Well, this is personal for me. I would take the 2003 Yankees that ousted the Red Sox, and then I would put them up against the New England Patriots, so that at least the folks in New England would get a little revenge, because I'm certain most of those players on the Patriots that won a Super Bowl could do that, even though the Yankees didn't win the World Series that year. But that's what I would pick. What about yours?
Oh, I would go the 1985 Chicago Bears against the 1977 New York Yankees. The Bears with William Refrigerator Perry, Jim McMahon, Walter Payton. I'd have Ditka on there anchoring the tug of war. The Yankees, Thurman Munson, Lou Piniella, Reggie Jackson, Billy Martin's as tough as anyone on the Bears. That would be, I could only imagine Howard Cosell going crazy. Oh, look at Reggie Roo, So that's what I would do. I think it was great ratings for ABC back in the day. And it lasted I bet you that show lasted 6 or 7 seasons.
I would think so. Yeah, I think it did. And I can't say I was a regular watcher of it, but I did watch it, and I do remember a lot of the clips there. Folks, if you've got a comparison you want us to put on there, write to us at dalyfish1@gmail.com. Or if you tell us what you think about the flag football Pro Bowl. I mean, is something you're in favor of, or what do you think? So give us your thoughts on that. There we go. We know what fishes are. All right, next topic. Hey, Shannon Sharpe got into some jaw-jacking from the stands during a Lakers-Grizzlies game last week. What popped up to me is that entertainment, or shouldn't he have been chucked from the arena? I mean, if you and I were jawing with one of the players on the teams, or a couple of players on the team, security would have chucked you and me out in a minute. What do you think on that? What's your take?
The whole thing was staged. I have incredible sources that said that it was staged because he's a class act, Shannon Sharpe. I've met him. And there's no way he's sitting there courtside throwing F-bombs to John Morant and the rest of the Grizzlies about LeBron James. That's not his personality. He hosts a show called Undisputed with Skip Bayless, another member of Mensa. And he did that knowing that Monday morning when they came on, it'd be the first thing. It's all about ratings. You always say all the time, everything's about ratings. Okay. The WWE, the World Wrestling Association, they're all fixed. This is a fixed. I wonder who the director was. I wonder who the writer was. And they did remove him and take him in the hallway at halftime. He came out in the third quarter and they showed him hugging afterwards. But it was something that they could use on Undisputed to start off their show. And I guarantee you people watched. I was not one of them.
No, I wasn't either. And I kind of read it afterwards because it was a West Coast game. But, Shannon Sharpe did apologize because I think there was a lot of feedback on that. And at the same time, too, I've got to think, before he goes in there on his show, they pick their topics and they pick which side they're going to be on. And it's just set up that way. And that's the way, unfortunately, the sports talk shows are, the news talk shows are the exact same way, too. So anyway,
let me ask you that real quick. We have a couple of minutes to expound on that because you have such a expansive journalism background and you did local news and you were an anchor and you said the facts and you're right. If you watch CNN, as far as politics or just news, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, We Now TV, whatever you watch, and then you watch these sports shows in the morning, it's all about shock and awe. What are you going to say to get Eric Snyder's attention, the fish man, or get John Daly's attention? And then we talk about it. All right. We're talking about Shannon Sharpe on our podcast. And that's exactly what they want.
Well, and that's true too. But at the same time, too, you and I are talking about it in a way, and I'm sure we agree on most of it. But at the same time, too, you have to understand, and this is what I wrote about in my book, is that there's a sports and entertainment bias in the news. And the news, when they set up the story, all they're going to do is here's one side against the other side, and they argue and they battle, and whoever wins, wins. Instead of here are the facts. Here are the facts that you can figure out for yourself, cold hard facts. Both sides have their own facts. Instead, they just kind of give you the battle. And unfortunately, that's what's causing, and we'll talk about this later in the show because of things that are going on in the country. But that's why we get people battling each other. And that's why we get a lot of, we get a lot of violence, and we get a lot of people who are not getting along, who are stuck in their own worlds. They're the heroes of their own stories. And unfortunately, we're not getting facts. That's the problem. And, unfortunately, sports and news broadcasts are adding to that. So, all right. Want to go to the memes? Let's go to the fishy memes. What has caught your eye this week, Fish? Do you got some good ones?
I got some good ones. And we showed them yesterday. Everything about as we're approaching Valentines Day, everything's about true love. So if I could just get my phone, let me see this. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Is that true love right there? I mean, I don't know who these two people are. I applaud them. But that guy looks like the guy in front looks like someone that hangs out at young girls' religious schools and sits in his car with Cheetos and an orange soda and watches them walk out with their skirts. That's all I'll say about that. But that's true love. I love true love. Here's the more true love, John. Look at that. That's the greatest, man. Yeah. I love that. I mean, good for them. We talked about it with reporters. Dudley Moore was a great actor. Was in the movie, famous movie Arthur. He was married to, I believe her name was Shannon Tweed. She's like 5'10", and she would pick him up to kiss him. I would love that. And that's I wonder how.
He was also with who was the other?
No, I'm wrong. It wasn't Shannon Tweed. Damn it! No, it was Susan Anton.
It was Susan Anton, and Susan Anton's like over 6 feet, and so she picked him up, and I just wonder how the kinky positions happen with these people because there's such a height disparity. But we have to ask Shaq when we get him on the show. Okay. Well, Dudley Moore. Let me just hold before you go to the next one. Dudley Moore. One of his very close friends worked with me on Real TV, and he said one of Dudley Moore's great lines was that Susan Anton was so tall, I had to go up on her.
Daly with the funny one. Hey, breaking news here, exclusive on Daly Fish. Wow, Daly with a subliminal comment about a sexual position. Oh, I'm sweating in 36-degree weather. That being said, look at that. That is, you don't allow that attire on an airplane anymore, but that's fantastic. King shit. Yeah. All right.
I don't know. How do you walk? How do you walk? That's the thing. Yeah. Well, anyway, go ahead. Go.
If he walks wrong, grandma's going to take care of him. I mean, she's got the gang symbol and the Glock 9. We got some issues about that. My ex-wife sometimes make it on the show. And look, if Monday were a person, Tuesday, look at that look. I have to see Fish naked again. My God. I'm just going to, that looks like that looks like Fran Drescher and Joan Rivers with hair combed over, bad versions. Okay. Look at this. How do you get, wow. There's a Raiders season ticket holder that's just fed up.
Oh yeah. 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 Nice beard.
Nice beard. Look at this fashion attire, Mr. Daly. What do you think, buddy? Look at those suspenders.
I want to know who makes those suspenders because those things are holding up a lot, and the fact that they can actually hold them there. But it's and I guess at some point you and I are probably going to look like that. But
I sincerely doubt it. All I know is that there's an old saying: if underwear could talk, that guy's underwear would be a preamble. And then we're going to end it with this. This is the guy that's running for president in 2024. His name is Chris Thong. And I mean, really? I mean, could you imagine being on a construction site and you bend over and your fellow workers see that? How long until you get your paper saying, you know what, this you may not be right for this job. But we give everyone a fair shake here on Daly Fish.
There we go. Memes. All right, folks, thanks for joining us here on Daily Fish. We talk sports, entertainment, and politics, and everything in between, just like you do. We have no woke, no extreme, no social justice cops here. You have a problem with us? No, you're not going to have a problem with us. But if you do, send us comments and also questions to, again, dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, now it is time for Schmuck, Swag, and Drinks. Fish, who's been schmucky this week?
It's a video. I got me scroll down because it's this really happened. This is not staged like Shannon Sharp and John Morant. This is a couple that bought dog cages and wanted to try them out. Check this out.
Good boy. Can I be these? I think it out. Seriously. I can pull it. Oh my God.
Recording right now.
Unbelievable. And the dog, you can hear the dogs barking saying, "You guys are idiots."
It's unbelievable. Stephanie, some Stephanie last name and her husband, but that was not staged. So I said, you know what? We got to show this on Daily Fish and show that sometimes. What if they got stuck in there and they had, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that story? They get stuck in there and no one finds it for 3 or 4 days and they die of starvation. I mean, it could have been a scary situation.
Yeah, actually could have. All right, let's see who's got the swag. Who are we toasting this week? Who's got swag?
Steve Kuhn. John talks to me every once in a while on our phone. We talk about subjects, and he talked about pickleball, and I said it's blowing up out here in Las Vegas. That's Steve Kuhn. He's the founder of pickleball, and I looked it up, and it's the fastest growing sport, participatory sport in America. And LeBron James got involved, and he shows it on his outlets and the shop. And he's invested a lot of money into it. Got 4 billion hits, throughout the world when LeBron talked about it. Now the NBA's invested in this thing. I love it. I played pickleball. I think it's demographic friendly for everyone. What about down there in Myrtle Beach, John? Do you see courts going up?
Oh my God, it's all over the place. In fact, in the community that we live, they've actually, one of the residents is the head of pickleball here. And I mean, it's just loaded. So they're taking over the tennis courts, and it's a lot easier. And it's also more social. So I haven't played it yet. I have a feeling I'm going to tear up a knee or an ankle or something like that, and I won't be able to play golf. But anyway, no, it's huge around here. It's absolutely taken off.
I think you and Terry, on a serious note, you and Terry and some of your friends get in that court. It's short. It's a lot of fun, and it's couple oriented also, and you're going to work up a sweat. I'm worried about you because the makeup might smear, and then the hair might get messed up. So wear a baseball cap, and you saw I changed a tire right now. It's 36 degrees outside here. I said, my ears are freezing. So anything for show business, buddy. And pickleball is going to blow up.
Okay. So is your makeup getting smudged with that hat on?
No. But I am pissed. I know why. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I washed my hair and put gel in it and put a cap on it.
It makes no sense. All right.
I'm a schmuck.
We got our drink of the week. Let's see who we're gonna toast Steve Kuhn and LeBron with our drink of the week. And what are we sipping here, Fish?
Usually this is a green apple martini, and usually this is a drink that we serve at Chuck's Tavern. You can have it any time of the year, but in summer times it's very refreshing. You do Crown Royal, you do a couple of dashes. I would say maybe a splash and a half of green apple liqueur, and then fill up with cranberry juice. And like I said, it's served. I serve it both in a martini and a cocktail. You got the cocktail version.
I got the cocktail.
So the Steve Kuhn, LeBron James,
and pickleball. Oh, that's good. That's good. I wonder if you should have done a like a pickle juice martini. That would have been kind of cool. I'm
Yeah.
sure you got that up your sleeve somewhere. We can do that next time. All right.
You know what pickle real quick. You know what pickle juice goes with? Now the big thing is shots of Jameson with the pickle juice back. You do a
I can
shot
see
of
that.
Jameson and people drink pickle juice. So we have pickle juice
I can see
on
that.
stock at Chuck's Tavern. It's a huge shot right now. So it's funny you bring that up. Maybe we'll do that next week.
Yeah, we should. One of the things that I tried this week was we have asparagus spears that are pickled, and I used that in a gin martini. Oh my God, man, it was incredible. It was really good.
The first time I had asparagus, you know how it makes your pee smell?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I want my mom to rush me to urgent care.
All right. Hey, the Daily Fish drink of the week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to Shucks Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of town. Guess what? Fish is there overnight. Go in there, say Daily Fish Podcast. You get a free drink. Do it the next day, Daily Fish Podcast. You get a free appetizer. Again, that's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. Again, folks, this is Daily Fish. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. Subscribe there. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. You can watch us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. Check out Daily Fish on YouTube, Hey Vegas TV, and Wingding TV. Also, check out our posts and our news updates that are on Facebook and Twitter. Also, check out Daily Fish as well, and check out our interviews. Last week, we had Bryan Cranston talking about the 2nd season of Your Honor and Showtime. He also filled us in on the Rams and the Dodgers. And we got some other guests coming up this week too, Fish. Can you talk about those?
Well, we do. Before you go back to Bryan Cranston, I'm so into Your Honor and I'm caught up. And I said when we introduced him, if you look at the poster for the show, I thought he looked like Harrison Ford from The Fugitive. But he looks in this season, he looks like Tom Hanks when he was on his 5th year on that island. I mean, except he's in clothes. The acting in that show, and I'm 2 episodes in. You don't have to watch the first season. I want you to.
I agree.
The acting is so brilliant between him and Michael. I'm not. Look, we're not getting paid at all. We're not getting paid to promote Your Honor, but you have to watch it because it's that compelling. And this week, if we're segue into that, if we're lucky, I know on Saturday, we have Jason Bennett, who's the #1 Philadelphia Eagles fan, and he's going to talk smack about the Cowboys and talk smack about Philly and its toothless women and its fans and the jail that's in their stadium and why you don't want to go to Philly if you're the opposite team. Friday, we're hoping to get Todd Edwards on. Todd Edwards is a law enforcement lifer who got out of it, and now he's doing construction, and he's a great man. I've talked to him many times, got great stories, and he's lived the entire gamut of what goes out on the street. So expect a couple of interview shows from Daily Fish on Friday and Saturday.
That's right. And if for some reason you don't catch it live, it'll be there. So go check it out. And again, it's Daily Fish. All right, so let's get some of the Daily Fish bets from the Hardline. Again, John Hardison, he's not with us here, but he is on the podcast called The Cost of Winning, focusing on fantasy sports and sports betting. He's on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast. And we're going to look at the 4 teams. We've actually got Hardline's bets. What's interesting, Fish, is that the weather's going to be decent for both the games on Sunday.
It's not. No. It's 9 degrees with the chance of snow in Kansas City for that game.
Are you
Philly,
serious?
you're right. Yeah,
that's what my thing says.
Yeah, well, I'm on top of it. I like looking at. It's amazing that when you go on all the NFL sites, every weather girl is gorgeous. There's no. I would love to see one time Rosie O'Donnell step up there and then belch and go. The weather in Philly is like it always is, dreary and no sun. No, I think the weather is going to be lousy in Kansas City. Who cares? Wow. Who cares? You see the Bengals played in Tuck Rule game number 2. It was snowing that entire game. Did you see when they showed DeMar Hamlin, God bless him, in the booth, John, doing this? You couldn't see the guy basically. The snow was coming down so hard.
Yeah. And it was amazing. In fact, the Kansas City actually, and they're used to snow, but the Buffalo Bills are really used to snow, and they really didn't do it. All right, let's talk about the Chiefs are 1-point favorites at home against the Bengals. And the Hardline seems to be saying he's going to go money line with the Bengals. You agree with that?
Yes, I do. They're a
I
hot
do.
team. They've won. Look, both these teams are coming off long winning streaks. I believe it's 8 for each of them. I'm probably wrong on that. You can fact check me, but just the body of work, and we talked about it. What concerns me is Mahomes' knee or ankle, but the Bengals are hitting on all cylinders, checking all boxes. And if you dominate the Bills in Buffalo with 3 offensive linemen out, why can't you do the same in Kansas City?
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, moving to the other game. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites at home against the 49ers. Hardline, he likes the Eagles. He's even though he likes the 49ers, but he's gonna take the Eagles and the money line. It's minus 144. What do you think? You agree with him on that?
I do. I like I said earlier in the show, I like the Eagles and the Bengals to make the Super Bowl. But I wouldn't be shocked if whoever wins, whoever wins these games, no one's shocked. It's not a real underdog. San Francisco is such a wonderful story with Brock Purdy, so the nation seems to root for underdogs. But I think that train stops in the city of brotherly love. I love everything about Jalen Hurts and his disposition, his demeanor, and that team is stacked. They're loaded. They got probably their backup defensive lineman can start on most NFL teams for the Eagles.
Yeah, when they're healthy and they're ready, and again, they had those 2 or 3 weeks in December where you could just tell they were not healthy and they needed to rest. And my gosh, they came back huge. Go for it,
John. Over under 50. How many people go to jail at the game in Philadelphia? Over under 50 people. They have a jail in that stadium, from what I understand, and that it's going to be raucous. You don't want that's a one stadium you don't want to go to and represent the other colors. They really take it very, very personal in Philadelphia.
So I guess my question is, I'm trying to figure out now the Giants fans. There were a lot of Giants fans there last week. Do the 49ers fans travel fairly well?
Oh, hell yes.
They do.
I mean, well, they came to Vegas when they played the Raiders, 5 weeks ago. It was predominantly 49ers, but yes, they travel. And I believe they're going to try and get in, but it could be a problem. I mean, and look, there's some stadiums that quit alcohol sales at halftime.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're one of them, but I would imagine it might be smart to start doing that because these people tailgate for 3 days. They'll quit their jobs to hey Joey, you want to go onto the link? Nah, I got this gig. I got to put some PVC pipe in this guy's house. Fuck that. Let's go party. You got it. So that's Philly. I make fun of Philadelphia, but if you think about the blue collar part of America, the Liberty Bell where we started, Rocky, everything about this matchup. San Francisco's sweet and has the Golden Gate Bridge and their Merlots and their Pinot Noirs and their nice ballets. And Philadelphia is, well, I'll share what Philadelphia is, John. This is Philadelphia. Okay. Let me just go with me on this. This is Philadelphia as far as that's the beauty queen of Philadelphia right there. Okay.
That's Miss
Philadelphia. And she takes care of her man. So you never answered me. Over under 50, Jonathan.
Oh, I would say over, but I don't know if they have room for 50. Do they?
They probably do. They put them in the women's jail. There's even more broads in there. Oh, I can't.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, I'm definitely saying the over. And if for some reason the Eagles lose, it'll be triple that. So yeah. I got to tell you, one of the great things about Philly, and you talked about San Francisco, and San Francisco is a great food town. Philly is one of the great food towns in the world, and it's great. Just if you're just a blue collar person, or whether you're an opera singer like yourself, it's a great place to go, and there's tons of restaurants.
Tell me, because you do a show called Undercover Jet Setter. We all know Philly for their cheesesteaks. They're famous for Philadelphia cheese. Tell me something that we would know, I wouldn't know, about a restaurant in Philadelphia that would just stun the audience. That is, it's a James Beard type restaurant, and it'll be talked about in the Food Network with Bobby Flay and Giada.
I can't remember the name, but it's there's a he's a Michelin and he's got this sushi restaurant, and it's just crazy sushi in different ways you've never seen it before. And I'm drawing a blank on his name because we weren't expecting to talk about that. But if you go to Undercover Jet Setter and look up Philly, you'll find that. And there's probably we probably got about 10 restaurants on there that you could go take a look at.
And when you look up Philly on Undercover Jet Setter, John will have a prosthetic in where he has no teeth, his hair's all gelled up backwards, and he has a Philly accent. You know, his host, Susan Azzaloni. Yo, Susan, let's go to that. What's that sushi fucking joint? He even curses on it. No, he doesn't curse. But John gets into character.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. You'll like it. All right.
You'll like it.
And that is the Daily Fish Hardlines. And again, with John Hardison. Hardison's not with us. He'll be back next week. You can find him here with us, but he's also on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. And stick around, folks, because Fish and I are going to get into a little political controversy. All right, Fish. One of the things that's really it's weird. This is really happening. Mass shootings in California, and they're happening in Asian communities. This is strange, and it's really pummeling the state of California. People are really devastated over this.
I've said this before. I have a lot of family in Australia, on my wife's side, tons, and their kids, my nieces, don't understand when they look on the news what's going on in America. We look very barbaric to them. I'm a big Second Amendment guy. I believe that you should own a gun. But the way our response to these whole things, when this happens, is background checks, better background checks. You can't stop mental illness. And the bottom line is, and we'll have Todd Edwards on to talk about this, you can't give the public AK-47s, Uzis, bump stocks, 100-round clips. As humans, we are not capable of covering up our anger. And we're seeing mass shootings all the time, and we do nothing about it. And it makes us look like a third world nation. Do you agree, John?
No, absolutely. And, just in this year alone, I mean, we haven't gotten out of January, 1,200 people have been killed in mass shootings in the United States. And again, when we found out it was an Asian community, we thought it was anti-Asian crime. It was actually the perpetrators were Asian. They were also Asian. They were just angry at their community or what it is.
It doesn't matter who the perpetrator was. It's the fact that there's so much out there. I have Metro guys that come into Shucks Tavern, and they'll say to me, Fish, I won't mention names. They said, we just pulled 3 15-year-olds over. 15, right? And driving. Remember that, 15-year-olds, and they had Uzis on them. Okay. There is no background check on a 15-year-old, and Uzis are illegal. The black market gun supply in the United States is monumental. Okay. And I don't know the solution to this whole thing, because you have a right to bear arms. You have a right to have a Glock. You have a right to even have a Lee Enfield 30-06 shotgun if you want. But these weapons, assault weapons, I think Samuel L. Jackson, the actor, said the reason why they call it assault weapon because you assault people. And look, 99% of all gun owners are responsible, but we live in fear of the 1% that are not.
Yeah, no. And the main cause is easy accessibility to deadly weapons, and nobody's going to do anything about it. That's the problem. All right, let's talk about the next one. And you kind of touched on this too with the Philadelphia Eagles having all those people at the parties before the games. Where are all the plumbers, mechanics, and electricians? I don't know about you, Fish, but our hot water heater went out at the house here. It took us 5 days. We were 5 days without hot water. And it's the same problem, I think, throughout the country. What are you saying?
I think you have a mass shortage of people that want to do labor. And I have a plumber that comes into Shucks Tavern. He says, Fish, I can't get anyone to help me. And the guy pays $35 an hour. All right. If you go through the electrical apprenticeship, you start off at $35, $40 an hour. But we can't have mechanics. I took my car in for my alternator 5 years ago. It was a day job. Now it's a week. People don't want to work. I don't know if that's COVID and getting bumped up. I doubt it. I think the younger people would rather sit. I think it's a laziness. I don't know what it is, but it's a trend that's very disturbing because you need electricians, you need plumbers, you need metro officers, you need firemen, and you need mechanics. And how do you fix this, John?
Yeah. Well, and again, if you look at Gen Z, those are the people that are born between 1997 and 2012, and they don't seem to want to be doing those jobs. And in defense of them, those jobs are hard jobs. I mean, it's physical work.
Oh, so
Okay. And so let me go back because my dad, and I know your dad was in either Korea or World War II. And what was fascinating for me growing up was that we had electricians, we had, because these guys were trained during the war, and they actually, after the war, continued doing stuff like that. So a lot of them were handymen. A lot of them had their own businesses. I had my uncle Dan had his own oil burner company, and he did very, very well. My generation, our generation, I wasn't going to do that. Why? Because I got to go to college. I got to be a writer. I got to be a TV host. I got to be a newspaper reporter because I didn't have to do that. And I wasn't, trained in it. I don't think the kids today are trained in it. And you're beginning to see a lot of the kids that are, with all these tech companies are laying off a ton of people, and especially the young ones, and they don't know what to do. So I think it's something that we've got to get them out there. But at the same time, too, I'm hearing reports that I think things are changing where a lot of people are beginning to go to it. The community colleges are really offering a lot of programs. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get the training of it. And at some point, you're going to need some sort of job. So hopefully it's going to happen. But, I think things are beginning to change.
I don't see it. I'm a grunt. I'm in the work, on that. And I hear all the complaints from people's in those. I can't get people out. We can't hire anybody, and they're putting ads and they're doing everything, and they're on social media, on Facebook pages saying, I need people. I'll train you. I'll put you through your 6 months apprenticeship or electrical to get your apprenticeship, and they're not getting any takers. I think what killed everyone. You remember TikTok during COVID? There was one guy that went on a skateboard drinking cranberry juice and singing Stevie Nicks songs. Made $1 million doing that. So every kid thinks, I'll do that.
Good point.
I'll start a .com or something like that. But you know what? It doesn't work that way. All right. And I'm not a Debbie Downer like you are, but it's concerning because you know what it's going to do when you have to wait 5 days to get your water heater fixed, and you got to wait an extra week or two. I can't get into physical. I'm a bad back, big deal, right? I work on it. Back 5 years ago, if I made an appointment for physical therapy, I'm in there that day. Now it's a 2 to 3 week wait because they don't have the labor force, and it's, look at the pilots. Did you tell me on one of the previous shows that a lot of delays, John, are because they don't have pilots that are ready to go, and no one wants these jobs. No one wants the flight attendants jobs. It's just what has happened to our country as far as a viable workforce. Very concerning.
Let me give you two other factors that are involved. One is, especially during COVID, a lot of people retired. A lot of people just cashed in and retired, and a lot of baby boomers were well off, who can do it. They got Social Security, they got Medicare, they've got a good pension, so they can do that. So a lot of people retired. We haven't filled the void yet of those people retiring. The other problem is immigration. We don't have a proper immigration policy here. And again, I hear all the Republicans complaining that, there are people coming in that just swarms and we got to take care of them and all this and all that. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, too, on the other side, they're not creating it so that we can bring in skilled workers or workers who are going to work. Canada does a great job. They don't allow anybody just to swarm in. You got to have a skill, you got to have a reason to be there, and you either got to have family there. So that's the difference too. And part of the problem is it's the idiots that are in Congress. I hope we don't get shut down because I called them all idiots, but they're not working together. And there are solutions, especially to these problems, and they're not doing it.
First of all, Canada has 25 million people. We have 335 million people.
Right.
And no one wants to go to Canada unless you want to, because it's frozen half of the year. You come here because you got so many different states to go to, and you have so many different demographics. I get your point. Their theory and their actions are right, but it's hard to compare who wants to come to this country and who wants to go to Canada. So I don't know. But I know you, John, you could use the word idiot.
Okay, good.
You know, John, if I showed you a peach right now, would you know
What
that's
would
an
that
anus?
mean? Is it an anus or a butt?
Move on.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Fish, you raised this question. I want you to hit this. Why are we so stupid about history? Give me your take.
Elie Wiesel or Simon Wiesenthal said, those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. So I went and looked at some history books from different countries. In France, in a French history book in high school, for the high school students, there's no recount of the Allies landing at Normandy. And yes, Charles de Gaulle liberated the Champs-Elysees, but Patton allowed him to. So, you know, history is written by those who hang heroes, a famous Scottish saying. In our textbooks, nothing about Vietnam, the first war we basically lost. Go to an Iraqi textbook, nothing about Desert Storm. Actually, they said Saddam Hussein won because we backed out. He didn't win. Okay, so everyone is as you said, is the hero of their own story. I think it's damaging when you don't teach history. I was around guys that were watching my bar. Saving Private Ryan was on the background. They had no idea at 40 years old what that movie was about. And it's scary to me that you don't know history, because how do you move forward if you don't know what the past was?
Well, and I think a lot of the problems we have today are because of that. I mean, we don't teach civics, so people don't understand what's going on, how government runs, and why we have it. We've got idiots in the Congress who don't even know the three branches of government, and it's unfortunately that's the way it is. And I'll go back to another problem on the other end. That's probably going to make it worse is that there are fewer kids that are going into teaching. The amount of kids going into teaching has dropped dramatically from 2010, and it's because teaching isn't fun. It doesn't pay you a whole lot. It's dangerous. So you see a lot of people opting out of that. And so, you know, how do you fix that? I don't know. I mean, the news media. I mean, you know, the news media, you can go watch Fox News, go watch MSNBC. They're covering the same story. It's a totally different story. It's a totally different story. And you're watching the same thing. So, you know, you got to do a lot of work to go and figure out what the truth is. And so that's news. Can you imagine in history what they're going to do? So anyway, let me do our little bye-bye here before we jump into the last topic. We are Daly Fish. We're coming to you from Vegas, Myrtle Beach. We hit sports, entertainment, politics, and everything in between, as you just heard. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. Watch us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel, Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Live. Check out Daly Fish on YouTube, also Wingding TV. We're also on Hey Vegas TV. Go to heyvegastv.com. You can listen to us. If you don't want to watch fish in that stupid hat, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. And all those channels, you can hear our interview chats, especially guests. We got some guests coming up. We just had Brian Cranston. You can go listen to that. If you want to write to us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. Actually, I think it's a cute hat, Fish. I don't do that. So, hey, before we close out, favorite presidents. You know, we kind of hadn't talked about that. You got a favorite president?
I got two. I know one. You and I had the same one, but I love Teddy Roosevelt. I love lines that the famous quotes from presidents. And Roosevelt had one that was, "I'm a politician. If I'm not kissing your baby, I'm stealing their lollipop." You'll go into more of the things in a second what Roosevelt did. My favorite president by far is President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. The greatest quote was, "Ask not what your country could do for you. Ask what you could do for your country." And we need that now more than ever. But I love the way this man led his life. His dad, Joe, was a known racist, was pissed off that he was friends with Sammy Davis Jr. in the Rat Pack. And that's been well documented. Joe Kennedy was his dad. His brother, Bobby, went up against the mob and Sam Giancana. And there's a lot of people think they were assassinated because of that. We'll never know. But the parties that Kennedy used to have, first of all, he got things done. But if the walls could talk.
Uh-oh. Fish kind of went out. He must have hit the wrong button at the wrong time. He's back.
No. I get a phone call on my phone. If the walls could talk in the Lincoln bedroom, my God, the stories about Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe, Barbara Davis, all the women that he had there, and that's not a great look for Jackie. But I will tell you this: The man had much charisma and balls, military hero, and whether you're dead, and he had a lot of Republicans that liked him, you know, for being. He was probably he was, and he just there's a way he had the swag going about him. And again, I'll ask you this, John. I was thinking about this. If you had to name any presidents that got laid more than John F. Kennedy in the White House, I could name one that I know of, President Clinton. We all know, you know, with Monica Lewinsky.
That's
but
right.
Nate, I have a couple. Nate, before you go to yours, we have a few minutes here. Can you think of any presidents that frolicked in the White House like the two I just mentioned?
I'm trying to go back in history. Maybe Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, that was one I had of.
You know,
Andrew Jackson, because he had supposedly 200 kids. All right. What about? I heard Lyndon B. Johnson was a real philanderer. So you know,
yeah. Actually, he did.
I heard he used to take dumps in the White House with the doors open. You know, I mean, weird shit about presidents.
He would do interviews with the reporters while he was sitting on the can.
Love it. All right. So let's get off that. John F. Kennedy's my guy. What about you? Go.
Okay, so I picked Teddy Roosevelt as well, and if you get a chance on the History Channel, they have a docudrama 4-part series on the life of Teddy Roosevelt, and it's fascinating. It goes all the way from when he was with the Rough Riders, when he was the mayor of New York and the governor of New York, and how he became president totally by accident. It was because McKinley was assassinated, and he happened to be vice president, and people in New York wanted to get him out of New York. So they asked McKinley, can you put him on the ticket just so we get him out of there so he doesn't do anything? McKinley gets assassinated, and TR becomes president, and he turns around really what was the whole monopolistic stuff that was going on in the end of the 19th century, turned it into what is the capitalism that we had for the 20th century that really led to the growth of the economy. So he was a big part of it. I liked Obama. I thought Obama, even though there was a number of things that Obama did, I didn't like. But the JFK thing, I would agree with you. And of course, being Irish Catholic, you have to follow him. But you mentioned his ask not what your country can do, ask what you can do for your country. He spun that from the 1950s and changed it. And if you think of he ushered in the 1960s where, you had things like, UNICEF, and you had, Peace Corps and stuff like that. So people, especially young kids, started really volunteering to try to help the country, and you started seeing that happening. So he did have a big influence on there. There's a interesting, it's a documentary on Netflix about Marilyn Monroe, and I don't know, it's gotten slammed a little bit, but it seemed to say that it wasn't just Teddy. It wasn't Teddy at all. It was JFK. It was RFK that Marilyn had more of a relationship with that people didn't know about.
Oh, they had parties left and right in that house, and it's not it's not a good look for Jackie Onassis, who great woman, great first lady. But I'll tell you, two presidents that never got laid in the White House had extracurricular activities. I can guarantee you, Jimmy Carter and Harry Truman never. They just don't look like the type of guys, but you never know. One thing about Kennedy too, and I was 3 years old at the time. You were maybe 8 and remember it.
Yep.
But I do know this, and I've watched a million documentaries on a serious note, that we were a pubic hair away from going to a nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't think people realize, John, you could lighten our audience. You know more about it if you followed it. That I think we were very close to I know Fidel Castro told Nikita Khrushchev, who was the president of Russia, hit Miami with the nuclear bomb. And thank God Khrushchev had enough to say, if we hit Miami, there's no more Cuba. And it was, if you watch some of the documentaries, what went on in the White House, the JFK movie with Kevin Costner, how accurate was that? Because it was, wow, was that a stressful watch, John?
Based on a lot of the history books that I've read, it was right on there. And it was, there were scary moments. And again, I had to be, you're right. I was 8 when he was assassinated. So I had to be 6. And to be honest with you, and again, I had a dad who was in World War II. those were tense times. I mean, we really
Huge.
thought there was going to be, and in fact, they used to, when you were in school, you had to do the duck under the desk type things.
Sure.
And it's like, when you laugh at it now, it's like, would that have really helped if they dropped a nuclear bomb? But there was something about Khrushchev that the fact that the two of them could talk and they actually reached out to each other, but there were some really tense moments.
We got a couple of minutes left. I'm glad you brought that up, because you just said the fact that Khrushchev could talk, and behind the scenes, him and Kennedy got together, which made, Khrushchev was basically crucified for that by the Russian part, by the Kremlin. But he had enough balls to get in touch with Kennedy, and they talked. And the fact that we can't get Putin and Biden to talk, when who knows what's going on behind the scenes? I think Putin's crazier than a shithouse rat. And you said it. Sometimes I agree with you that if what's going on right now in Ukraine goes really south for the Russians, he might resort to chemical or nuclear weapons. We don't have a dialogue anymore between our leaders, and that is, in the times now, we can't learn. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. We can't learn from the past that maybe something like this could happen again. It's scary. It is.
So some of the history books had talked about that. You're right. Khrushchev kind of took it on the chin from the Kremlin. But Kennedy did give up a lot, but it didn't come out. And Kennedy said, I'm going to give you this. And I think it was removal of some troops in Eastern Europe or something like that. And I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a removal of some.
I remember what it was. It was a base in Turkey, and he gave Russians basic control of that base in Turkey. And then they turned around. Who was the guy that took off his shoe and said, no, who was the guy? Was it Adlai Stevenson said, we'll stay here till hell freezes over? When they were negotiating, was it, if you,
Adlai Stevenson was he was in the White House. He was in the cabinet.
It was a guy, you got to watch it. It was a critical time in American history because, and you could see why so many Cubans in Miami can't stand Fidel. He really wanted, he wanted every single historical documentary I've seen about that crisis. Fidel Castro wanted the Russians to send a nuke into Miami. And that's how ridiculously stupid he was. And thank God, cooler heads prevailed, because, if a warhead goes, what was it, where it was a famous, it's so cold that I can't think of it. So with Lee J. Cobb, where we send.
Yep, he got another phone call, or maybe he's going out to look and doing a search on.
We send a missile into Moscow accidentally, and it ends up that we allow one to go into New York, and it's inside of the war rooms. What was it?
I can't remember the name of the movie, but I remember it. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Someone chime in. So.
Yeah, everybody's talking when they hear you and me talking. So in comparing it to Putin and what's going on, Tom Friedman wrote a great book, and he wrote a lot of good books. And I'm trying to remember what one of them was, but I remember when I was in Russia, I actually quoted it, was, the fact that the Russians and the Americans on different sides, they at least knew that nuclear weapons were going to end everything. And the problem, I think, with Putin is I don't think Putin cares if he ends everything. That's, to me, what's really, really scary. And the fact that, if you think through the Cold War from, 1946, 1945, when, everybody had nuclear weapons and nothing happened. And now it's coming back with the threat of it. That's what's scary. So, and there's
now that all you young people watching this, John, is at the end of the world because of Putin. Please watch this last Super Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks, because it could be the end. It could be the end of all. All right, buddy. Get us out of here.
All right, pal. Again, we're Daly Fish, folks. We'll be back next week. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Got any questions? dalyfish1@gmail.com. All right, brother. Love you.
Love you. Bundle up.